Hello, bridge builders! I'm here with some exciting news. The first volume of interviews is now available on Amazon.com. The link can be found at eatlunchandboardgame.com. I promise that all proceeds from sales of this book will go right back into this podcast and channel. Whether that is new and better audio equipment for the podcast or video equipment for the YouTube channel, or even more games to review, the money will not be wasted. Click over to Amazon and get your copy of Eat Lunch and Board Game, the first course today. And thank you for supporting the show. Norm Hastings, host of the YouTube channel Board Game Museum, started getting into older board games a few years back. What he found, other than amazing games, a lack of reviews for these older gems. So, doing what anyone does these days, he found a niche and he went for it. He now has close to 300 older game reviews on his channel. He joins me in this episode to talk about how Catan would sound with a North Carolina accent, his Grail game, and whether Officer Jones from Monopoly is a punk. Thanks for listening. Alright, welcome back to Eat Lunch and Board Game. I'm your host, Adam Collins, and with me today is Norm Hastings, host of the YouTube channel Board Game Museum. Norm, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, Adam. How are you doing, sir?
Not doing too bad. I mean, you're down in Florida, so you've got like the nice weather, and I'm up here in St. Louis, and we're still trying to decide what season we're in. So,
well, it typically is always summer here. So it's either summer or extra summer because it gets hot.
Yeah, they extra summer. Not up here right now. We have snow and then 70s and then more snow, and now we're supposed to have 80s this weekend. So who knows?
Yeah, the weather's just nuts. It doesn't seem to stay stable. It's always either sunny, rain, sun, rain.
Yeah,
it's weird.
Keeps you guessing.
It's the same here. Just add heat, and then you pretty much have Florida.
Just don't have snow.
No, we haven't had snow that I can remember. Close, but no.
So, Norm, I came across you in your YouTube channel because I use my time wisely, and I'm always looking for new games. And I was trying to decide whether or not I wanted to get the game Masterpiece. And I went to Board Game Geek, which is obviously a dangerous website for people like me.
Sure.
Typed in Masterpiece, went to videos, and up popped yours. And it was like 7-8 minutes long, not that long. And I'm like, okay, I'll watch this. And then it opened, it was like vintage board game review. And I'm like, wait a minute, this is a whole channel of this?
Yeah.
So I have watched, I don't even know, 20, 25 of your of your videos since the time.
Wow.
How do you find all these old games?
Well, mainly thrift stores, believe it or not. Like when I first started getting these games, like when it all started, it started with Goodwill. I think the first game I ever found was Football Fever. And that's like a dice game. It was really cool. And it was like around $30, I think, to buy, for real. I was like, oh, it's only $3 here. Maybe I can sell it. So that's kind of how it all started. My wife and I, when we first started dating, we played card games, and I hadn't played games in years, but she liked to do it. So we just kind of did that on all our dates and bought more card games. And then Goodwill showed up, and that's where I started finding these older games. And I'm like, man, these games are really cool, And I guess I started kind of looking online for more vintage games like that, and finally trying to find some videos, but I didn't see any videos on them, like anything really from Milton Bradley or anything like that. I saw maybe sparse reviews here and there, but nothing like consistently Milton Bradley or older games. So the channel kind of started that way. I said, well, you know what? Maybe I'll just start doing a channel on older games. They're really cool. And the more I started buying games and discovering them, the more I really started to like them. And I guess it just kind of went from there. I just started meeting people that kind of had an affinity for older games, and that's kind of how it all started. Just kind of, it wasn't planned or anything. It just kind of happened,
Well, as my friend says, find your niche, right?
Yeah, and that was kind of, I guess, the niche at the time. Because I don't think at the time anyone's doing anything like that.
Right, and that's the other thing, right? If you're looking for something and it doesn't exist, do it yourself.
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty much it, because there's going to be an audience there for everything, you
Yeah,
know.
there's podcasts and YouTube channels devoted to the weirdest stuff, but we won't
Yeah,
go into that because this is family friendly.
right,
So,
right, right.
so one of the ones that other ones I listened to was so you also do Monopoly variants
Hmm.
and different Monopoly games.
Yeah.
And I love Monopoly, the original game, and I got rid of a lot of my IP ones. 10 years ago, 10 years ago, where it's
Hmm.
just IP, right? It's just Major League Baseball. There's nothing new to it.
Right.
But then here in the last couple years, Hasbro has been putting out a lot of weird new versions of Monopoly that have some weird new components. Like
Yeah.
what was that? Fake Cash,
Yeah. The fake goes that crooked cash. Yeah.
Crooked Cash, yes. And they had that, and they had like city building and uh, Cheaters Edition. I mean, and so you did all those too. And it's funny because I started watching those. I got when I changed jobs, and when I changed jobs, I had to kind of rebuild my board game group at lunch.
Right.
And so I started off with Clue because I think Clue is just such an underrated classic.
Hmm.
And but I kept finding more versions of Clue, not just IP Clue, but like different versions of Clue. And so I started just taking those to work, and we were just playing all these different versions of Clue. And I'm like, you know
Right.
what? I should make a YouTube of all the different versions of Clue. Norm's
Yeah.
doing it for Monopoly. Why not for Clue?
Yeah. Yeah,
But
because
what?
it's odd because the company itself doesn't even advertise some of these games. That you don't even know
Yeah,
they exist until you see them in the store. Like it's weird. There was like a Monopoly chocolate edition that someone told me about that I had never even heard of, and it had like chocolates in it. It was, I guess it was just like a Valentine's gift or something like that. But they just put these games out there, and most of the time you never hear about them.
yeah,
I never hear about them until someone messages me and says, "Hey, check this out." I'm like, "What?" And I go and Hasbro does have it on their site or nothing.
well,
So
that I kept running into that with some of these weird clues. Like they had the magic mirror or something like that, where it's like
no,
you put the card in the mirror to and light up the mirror, and it lights up the glass so you can see if you were right. I'm like, so you got rid of the envelope and put a mirror in it?
yeah,
That's an addition.
yeah,
That's weird. But I like the Monopoly Gamer, Mario Kart Gamer Edition.
I like that one. That's probably one of my favorites
Now, have you
out of all
taken
of
the
them.
Monopoly cars and put them into Downforce and played?
I have not. No, my son probably has. He's probably done a lot with those cars, but
I'll tell you, I spent more money getting Bowser, I think, than I did the rest of the game combined.
Bowser, yeah, that was about what, $20 or so.
Yeah, for that little car, and I'm like, this is insane.
I'm surprised they haven't made Wario yet. I hadn't seen Wario
Yeah,
for that
I don't
game.
I don't know if they're even supporting the game anymore.
They're
I
probably not. They
they seem to go through that stuff fast.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think last year, the last couple of years, they're just making so many different versions. I was like, okay, slow down.
I think part of that's because their copyright's coming up and they don't know what they're going to do. If they're going to be able to
Uh,
renew the copyright or if Monopoly's going to go into the public domain.
yeah.
So they're
I
trying to
just
get all
keep
the money they
thinking to
can.
myself in the meeting room, they're like, okay, guys, we haven't made a Monopoly game in 2 days. Come on, let's pick up
Yep.
the pace here.
It's been at least 48 hours since the last release.
Right.
Anybody got anything? So one of the other ones that I've been thinking about getting, and then I watched your review on it, and you had the print and play link, and I like print and plays when I can get them. Was Monopoly Stock Exchange.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I printed mine off. I printed off 2 copies. I mailed one to my cousin because she's a big Monopoly player, and I haven't made mine yet. So
It's a cool variant, and they made that one back like almost 90 years ago.
1930, yeah, 1936.
Yeah.
As far as I can tell, Monopoly Stock Exchange is the first expansion to a board game.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, I don't even know if they even called it an expansion at the
I
time.
don't
It
think
was
they
an add-on.
did.
But
But it seems really cool. It gives a purpose to free parking. And it adjusts some of your chance and community
Yeah,
chest cards.
it adds some flavor to it. You know, it adds. I haven't really played it much, and maybe I actually found like a vintage Monopoly game today. I just bought it because I was gonna. I haven't reviewed Monopoly yet, ironically enough, but
Just the original?
it's the original. I haven't done it yet, believe it or not, because I guess
Wow.
everybody knows how to play it. But I figure, okay, well, I'll just have to figure out a different way to do a review on it. Maybe do it like in 2 minutes and just like characters, put on characters, go, move, roll dice, or something. I don't know. Just make it like really ridiculous. But yeah, it's. I think we did used it once, and it's cool. I really liked it.
Yeah. So if I came to your house down in warm, not snowy Florida, what game is currently on your table? What's your your current favorite game?
Man, that's that is a tough question. I'll tell you what. One game, if I have like friends come over, I'll probably dig out Fireball Island. I'll probably bring out that one.
Oh, the original or the
The
remake?
original. The
Yeah.
original. I like the remake too, but typically, if I have people who've never played the games before, I'd like to get something that's pretty easy to learn and fun. So that way we don't have to spend like 45 minutes trying to learn how to play the game and everything. And Fireball Island is just one of those wow factor games. It's 3D. It's not something anybody really ever sees. They're like, whoa, you
Yeah.
know it's easy to teach, and it's always been a fun game for us to play. It always gets down to the wire, and I mean it's simple gameplay, but it's a very cool little game. So if I were to have you over, I would probably have out that game. But there's so many good games. I mean, it's I guess it really would just depend on the mood. If you were in a mood for like a party game, I'd probably get out Taboo. That's like
Oh,
classic. You know,
classic.
yeah, that game's
I remember. I remember back when you had the cards, and now it's you got the little buzzer and you just pass it around, and
Oh, that buzzer makes it so much fun. You just put it in people's ears and all that stuff. It's just hilarious. We just got a new game. Well, it's a Kickstarter we got called OT, and that's like Old Testament, but it's like a drafting game. And that's probably like one of my favorite card games now. But all the they have like all these biblical characters, and they each have like special abilities, and you're trying to build a team like with points. Like you'll get points if you have this card, you lose points if you have this card. This card takes out these cards, but you can protect yourself from this card with this card. Just all these different combinations and stuff. And that's been a favorite of mine right now. I think I don't know if there's any games that have been made like that, but that's like one I really like a lot. It's not even out yet, but that's a favorite of mine right now.
nice. Yeah, it's either on Kickstarter or getting ready to come to it. I saw something for it bounce across my Facebook or Kickstarter feed, so it'll be out there eventually.
Yeah, there's just so many games. I mean, I really, it really would just have to kind of like we probably would have to have like a half-hour long discussion just to figure out which one to play first. so,
Yeah.
um,
So during your day job, do you play games at lunch?
well, I actually have a night job. I work as a right now. I work as a musician, as a piano player, and my wife is a full-time mom. But if I were to go out on whenever we go out on dates, it's usually probably around lunchtime. So we would probably play right before lunch, but they would probably be card games and stuff. But yeah, if we ever had time to play during lunch, we would probably play something.
So do you say card games? Are you talking like good old four suits? Or you talk like the good old playing cards? Or are you talking like a card game with
Well,
specific
yeah, like
cards?
we used to play like with the traditional cards, but I think like games like like Uno or something like that, but not Uno.
Yeah.
But there's like a whole bunch of card games that are just like real easy to learn and quick. Those are typically the types of games that we would play, like for lunch or something like that. Just something that was quick and easy and fun. We have like a bag of card games we'll usually bring to the coffee house, and we'll just pick them up and play them. You know.
There's nothing wrong with having a go bag of games. My go bag of games is sitting right over here staring at me for tomorrow night.
Yeah, I think I need to get another bag. It looks a little odd carrying a suitcase into a coffee house, but that's okay. Do what you gotta do.
It looks like the 1950s,
Hey, that's right. Hey, we're vintage, right? So
Yeah, exactly. Your vintage board game reviews, absolutely. So, if you did play on a lunch hour, a full 60 minutes, what would be your go-to 60-minute game?
well, you know what? You brought up a choir.
Oh,
And you know what? That's probably if I were to pick a game to go for about an hour, that would probably be one of the ones I would pick.
Yeah, we'd have to stay with 3 or 4 players. You get much more than that, and it just
Yeah,
the analysis paralysis of everybody's turn of.
we have a game called so I Cytosis from Genius Games.
Yep.
I love their games. They make some really good games, and that's like one that I really enjoy. Is that one? It's a worker placement game.
Yeah, it's about the you got to build like the RNA blocks this or blocks that, and you're trying to. Yeah,
Yeah, and it's cool because it's science based too, which is
Yep.
kind of cool. I mean, I hadn't heard this stuff since high school, so it's. But yeah, I would probably pick a game like that, um, or maybe Risk Lord of the Rings. I hadn't played that one in a long time, but that's a really cool variant of Risk.
you're not gonna get a game of Risk in an hour unless you're completely dominating somebody.
That's true. Which, but yeah, that version actually kind of has a timed element to it because once you reach Mount Doom with the ring, the game will end. So
Oh
it,
well.
so that actually shortens the time by about 7 hours. So
No, yeah, there you go. You can fit it in a weekend.
yeah,
How about a 30-minute game? Something a little shorter.
I got one. You ever heard of the game Can't Stop?
I've heard of it. I have not played it. It comes up in many of my books
Oh
as a
yeah,
game, and I'm like, oh man, I got to get that one. I have not. Did you do a
that's
video on that one?
that's a Sid Saxon game, and
Did
that's
you do a
one.
video on that one already?
Yeah, I did. It has like it's a stop sign shaped
Yeah.
game, and it's basically it's a press your luck game where you're rolling dice and you're trying to get these chips up to the top, but and you have to keep rolling the numbers in order to keep moving up because if you can stop at any time, but it's a press your luck game, but it's a great game. I mean, it's press your luck at its best. And another one of those games that's easy to learn, and you're always like, "What should I go? Should I go? Should I not?" That would be one we would pick. We picked that one a lot.
Sid Saxons always makes good games, man. He made a choir. He did Bizarre. He's got a bunch of. Oh, the man knew what he was doing.
He made a card game called Venture, which is a fantastic game. It's like a business, some type of a game like that. I can't remember what, but it's really cool. You're like having to build these different businesses, and you get points for this and that, and you can sell. It's cool, and that's just another reason why I love the older games is because they just so much imagination put into it. From
Well, and they weren't even working with, not that mechanics these days are technological, but
right.
they weren't working with Sid Saxon and Alex Rudolph and those guys that did all the old 3M games. They were like creating a whole new gaming experience,
Mm-hmm.
and now all of us are like benefiting from their pioneering.
Yeah.
Because back then it was all a bunch of rolling moves and Clue. Like you had a bunch of rolling moves and you had Clue and Risk.
Right. Yeah. That's it. And I know I had talked to a guy. He has a channel or a website that's really good, but they have games from like the 1800s and stuff. They're beautiful to look at, but just roll and move pretty much.
Yeah, I just backed and just got it today actually because I just backed at the PDF level because I don't need another book. But let's be honest, I want to print the PDF out at some point anyway. But anyway, it was all these old vintage peg games, like the golf tees in wood.
Yeah.
And it's a whole book on like really old historical peg games.
Wow.
And it popped up on Kickstarter, and I was like, "Oh, okay." But I think the PDF was like $5 or $6, but to get the actual book was like 30, and I'm like, "Yeah, I'll just take the PDF."
Yeah, just take the PDF.
But
I actually found today there was a box that had about 7 of those peg games in there. I
yeah,
remember my wife they have them at Cracker Barrel and stuff.
oh
And my
yeah,
friends
yeah, yeah.
like to go there, so I got them for her. But they had the famous triangle game, but they had about 6 others too that I had never seen before.
Oh yeah, this whole book was like I can't remember how many were in there, but I was like, I can't. And like I said, I honestly can't remember what I paid for it, but it's because I backed too much stuff on Kickstarter. Are you
Oh
a
yeah.
big Kickstarter guy?
Man, I would be if I if I had the budget for it. I mean, I definitely I do get a lot of games from people who are doing Kickstarter, so I'll do videos on them, and the vast majority of them have been really good. Some of them shockingly good. I may not be able to financially back them, but I'll try to at least back them by promoting their stuff. Yeah, if I had it in the budget, I would probably just be backing like you know well everything.
Everything. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. It's an addiction.
Yeah,
That's why I try to keep to a lot of print and plays and PDFs and stuff like that. And then every now and then I'm like, I gotta try. I gotta get. Like I just backed one. I just bought a 3D printer over the weekend. It's not even set up. It's in a box. I didn't realize how much work it was gonna be to set it up. I
right,
was like, whoa. But I backed the game, and all they're doing is they're gonna send you like there's no physical game. They're
right.
just gonna send you the STL files to print on your 3D printer, and you have the game. And I'm like, is that the future of where we're going? These games that I'll give you the files and you print at your house in your own 3D printer, and there you go. And I'm like,
Well, I've heard of
maybe.
people building houses with these things, so I know, and I've actually had some game pieces made from 3D printers that you couldn't find anywhere. So you never know. I mean, now one thing I had a game called Monopoly Go Green, and this was a game that was made out of completely recyclable materials, and like all this environmentally friendly stuff, and it looked good. And I was thinking to myself, I wonder if that's actually going to catch on, you know, to war games as well, like making it out of all these, recyclable, environmental friendly materials or whatever. Because the game looked good to me. I mean, I couldn't really tell the difference between the paper and whatever else they made it with. Um, but I don't know. It was just a curious. It's actually a fairly decent version of Monopoly, but I just found that
Interesting.
interesting.
No, I didn't see that one. I don't know how the algorithm of Amazon did I put that across my eyes.
Yeah, looking for new Monopoly games is like treasure hunting. I mean, it's like sometimes somebody will just send me a link and it's nowhere on the internet. It's like, how did you find this? They'll send me a picture that time in the store just magically appeared. you know.
Awesome. Oh, that's how people know you. Like, hey, I don't know if Norm has this one or not. I might as well see if he does.
Well, that means a lot, man. I'm glad people are keeping me in the know.
Oh, absolutely. It's like I do reviews for Kickstarters as well, and you know, eh, trying to get the word out for those people. The more games out there, the better. Like
Yeah,
may not be the best game, but it may strike somebody else and get them into the hobby, or it might spark a an idea somebody else has playing your game, being like, "Ooh, what if this game did this instead?" And now you've got another new game out there.
yeah. It's like and it takes a lot of work. There was actually someone that was making a game about making a game. you know. What was it called? I can't remember what it was called, but that was the gist of it. Like it's like get your game printed, or whatever. And I was like, that's a pretty cool idea. And I got one called Meanwhile at the Con, which is like it's based on a gaming convention. So you have like a table and you're trying to sell things like board games and comic books and stuff. And I thought that was pretty cool. So now that they're making gaming games about games.
Meanwhile, at the con,
Yeah,
I have to, I have to like try to find out. That just sounds ridiculous, just the right amount of ridiculous for me.
yeah, it's cool. I mean, like some of these games, I mean, it makes you actually feel like you're at a con, because they got
Yeah,
celebrities and that's part of it. You're trying to get celebrities to go visit your table and stuff like that. It just blows me away the creativity of people.
oh, absolutely. There's no question there. So how about a hidden gem? What's one of the games that you found in your? I mean, because you've got. I mean, we could probably talk all night about
Oh
hidden
God.
gem games. I mean, I've gone through like. I just keep clicking on your videos, and I'm like, I've never heard of this one, but now I have. Um, and so, what would
oh
be
man,
a couple of the hidden gems that you've come across that have like really surprised you, and you think, man, how does this game forgotten to time?
man. There's one that comes to mind. It's a card game my wife and I. It's probably one of our favorite ones. It's a game called Luck Plus, and this was a game that was made from the Uno, the people that made Uno back in the '80s. And they made it. They made a few games. They made like a game called Top That and other games that didn't sell quite as well as Uno. But Luck Plus is a is a really really fun game. When we found that one, the instructions were kind of hard to understand. I think it took us a year to actually play it right. But once we started playing it, it's a really cool game. It's like I'm trying to see if I can remember. You have like all these cards, and there's red, yellow, and green cards, and then you place them in front of you face up, and you're basically trying to get rid of them. And all the different colors have different rules, and then you can also pass cards to the other player, and you're basically trying to get rid of them. But it goes back and forth and back and forth and back and forth like so much, you know. And you also have dice that you roll too to try to get rid of them as well. So that game I thought was really good, and that's a game I would love for them to see reprinted. But I mean that one when I did the video, and I think it's got maybe about 5,000 hits or so, maybe. But I know that a lot of people who have played the game really like it. It's just and I guess it just kind of got lost in time a little bit, but
It's odd that they haven't brought it back.
Yeah,
I mean, being just a card game, I'm surprised, especially with Uno. Now they have like Uno Flip and Uno, and they had Dos and something else. I mean, now that Uno's like coming up with all these different versions of Uno, I'm surprised they haven't brought Luck Plus back.
I think there was a guy that wrote me said that I think he's a game designer, and I think he's actually working on trying to get the copyright because he said that I guess the copyright is no longer it's public domain, I guess, or something. I don't know, but he said he was going to try to see if he could get it re-released. But it's a great game. You know, it was just I guess Uno was just all the rage back then, and the company made other games, but they didn't sell near as well as.
Well, no.
And there was another one I found, and this one was a game called Extinction. This one was made by like a professor of a school or something like that, and it wasn't made by a major publishing company at all. It had about 80 dice in it, and this game blew my mind. I mean, it wasn't much to look at visually, but just the gameplay. I mean, the board had like all these different habitats, and the dice would represent like little animals or something. You could try to eat your competition. You could try to breed, move, and do all sorts of things. And then you'd also have these natural disasters that would show up. And so you could adapt and change you could do so much with this game. It just blew my mind how much fun it was. But that's a game that I don't think many people have heard of because it wasn't made by a major publisher. I think this might have been this guy's only game. But I found that one in the thrift store, and I still have it. But I was like, man, they need to re-release this one. And they may already have done something similar to that game already. But that one, wow, it was a great game.
Interesting. I'll have to see what that looks like.
Extinction. Yeah, it's the one with the 80 dice.
I'm a game designer, and so many times I see games and I play games, and I'm like, why did you make this decision? Like, you just, like one of my favorite examples, of course, is like Splendor, and the other guy's game, Majesty for the Realm, where you got those real nice like poker chip gems for Splendor, and then in Majesty for the Realm, they're just scoring tokens.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, the whole game is like a deck of cards and a stack of meeple. And then like the rest of the game is all these scoring tokens. And it's like, man, you could have made this game for way less.
Yeah.
If you just now granted, you don't get the tactile feel of the poker chip. It's more of like a cardboard chip punched out. But like I'm like, this game could have been $20 instead of 40 because you didn't make that like an add-on on your website or something. We're like, hey, do you like the game a lot? Do you need heavier chips?
Yeah.
And you're like, yes, I do. And
yeah.
Because that's even what I did. Like, I just recently got into Red Dragon Inn. Have you ever played Red Dragon Inn?
I have not yet.
Oh man, so it's a hilarious game about trying to get your opponents drunk, and then so you got two glass beads, and one's fortitude and one's your sobriety, and so they come together, and if they ever go land on top of each other or pass, then you're drunk and you pass out. That's the game. All right. In a nutshell. Or you try to make them go bankrupt because you don't have any money to pay your bar tab, they kick you out. So you're just trying to be the last one sober with money. Which sounds hilarious in and of itself, but I found on the website they had like actual beer mugs and then hearts for the fortitude, and I'm like, this adds so much to the game by just having those on the table. But I understand not putting them in the base game because
Yeah.
who wants to add $5 or $10 cost to the game when I paid 17 to have these things shipped to me.
Right. Exactly.
So you're playing a game with colors.
Mm-hmm.
What color do you play?
I gotta go purple. It seems like I'm
Purple.
always drawn to purple, and it's not like I'm a Prince fan or anything like that. But it's I don't know. Purple's always been my favorite color. I guess it's just because it's different, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would go with purple.
Oh, purple's good. Purple doesn't show up in a lot of games, though, sadly.
Yeah,
Not
yeah,
enough games.
yeah. It's kind of like I'll probably never lead the car in Monopoly. I'll probably be like, something, something that nobody picks.
The shoe.
The shoe, the poor boots.
Nobody wants the shoe.
Yeah, nobody wants the dog anymore. They got rid of the dog, so.
Yeah.
Which
We
why
kept that
they
iron.
I don't know why they did that.
Well, originally it didn't come with game pieces.
Yeah, it's true.
Originally, you had to supply your own trinkets from around the house with your game piece.
Yeah.
So yeah, it didn't even come with game pieces originally.
Yeah, I know. I usually give my wife yellow because yellow's her favorite color. But if purple's there, I'll pick purple. If not, maybe blue.
That's half.
But I guess, yeah, maybe I should try to do the lighter, happier colors because I tend to not win with these darker ones. I don't know.
I don't win with whatever color I am, man.
It doesn't matter.
It's not about winning.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome. So, how do you pronounce Klaus Teuber's game, The Settlers of?
I say Catan. Am I right?
That's what I say. So, we're on the same page there.
What other pronunciations are there? There's a Catan.
Catan and Catan.
Catan. Okay.
Yeah, well, Catan's the other big contender.
I was from North Carolina, so sometimes we have an accent. It might be Catan.
There you go.
Get out that Catan.
You got that Catan game?
Yeah.
Bring that out here.
Bring it out here.
Set that up on the table here.
By golly.
By golly. Oh, so I gotta say, your ability to find all the old 3M bookshelf games has amazed me. Those are hard to find. I'm jealous of your thrift shopping ability. I hit up the thrift shops around here, and man, if you ever need a Trivial Pursuit, we got it.
Yeah, I know. I've seen that, seen it. You're always gonna find those.
Seen it. No more.
No, they made so many seen it. It's like mind-boggling. I mean, we just have a couple of really good thrift stores over here where we're at, and some cities, I guess, don't really have that. I guess I'm just blessed to have that, because the ones we go to, they get games like, all the time. Sometimes, they don't, but most of the time they'll get these gems. Like we found like an Acquire game that was like maybe worth about $100. There once it was like a Avalon Hill version.
The Avalon Hill with the plastic hotels. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really just going there and just looking to see what they got. But yeah, I've seen some pretty cool stuff over where we're at. Yeah, I mean, if I had thrifting advice, I would certainly give it. But like some places just don't have like good thrift stores, but some do. And then you always have. I get a lot of stuff on eBay and Amazon too.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Internet thrift store.
I'm all about my eBay. I got 2 games this week that are showing up. So.
Oh yeah.
I accidentally sent them to the house, so the wife's going to see them. So.
Have you ever played? There's a 3M game called Mr. President. That's probably my favorite one.
No, I want to play that one, and I want to play Stocks and Bonds. I loved your video on Stocks and Bonds. I'm like, man, I liked your video, Mr. President, because I'm like,
no, Mr. President. That's a great game. I've talked to a couple of people that collect vintage games, and that's one of their favorites too, just because just it is dated. I mean, they're talking about the space program, but and things like but that's okay. I mean, the way they make the game, it has decision making. They use the box, they make it into a ballot box where you stick the cards. It's just so innovative for this time. Um, but yeah,
Yeah.
Stock Exchange is good. But all their, the ones that I have, I really enjoy. Executive Decision's really good. All these games. They made some really good games.
So, is there a Grail game out there for you? A game that you haven't found that you're trying to?
I would love to get Star Wars Queen's Gambit if that ever.
Oh, good luck.
I know.
Oh my gosh. I've
Yeah,
been
that
trying to
one would
find that
be.
myself.
Yeah, that's like an eBay thing. Now I did get Dark Tower a couple of years ago. That was a game I really wanted. And I enjoyed it, but I never really brought it out that much. But that game, that's one of those games that's one of those to me was a mind blowing game because it was 1981. They were using microchips, I think, in this game. The power and the gameplay and everything like that was just like so far ahead of its time.
Oh yeah.
But
And they
then,
just remade it.
yeah, they just remade. Yeah, and the story is Milton Bradley got sued maybe a couple years later because they said these two guys had presented them a game that they said was similar to Dark Tower, and then Milton Bradley rejected it, and then they made Dark Tower, and these guys said, hey, that's copyright infringement, so Milton Bradley ended up losing the case, and they couldn't make Dark Tower anymore, which is why it's rare. But it's a fun game. It's just it takes a long time to play, and but to me the game itself just has an interesting story to it.
Yeah, but Star Wars Queen's Gambit with like the second level and
Yeah, and all the pieces
yeah.
and
Oh my gosh. If I
yeah.
ever see it, I'll buy it for sure.
Oh yeah, if I ever see it, I'll basically be camping out by the store until they open up.
That was one that I think didn't they call it like Star Wars Risk or something first?
Maybe I know that they have a Risk game that plays kind of similar to Star Wars Queen's Gambit, but it's like not the same degree as Star Wars Queen's Gambit. But it kind of has similar gameplay. But they said if you couldn't find that one, get that game. But
Yeah, okay,
yeah,
maybe that's what I
I've
was
seen
thinking.
videos on it, and it's just like, man, imagine setting that game up for someone who's never played a game before, and they're expecting Monopoly, and here they see this big, gigantic structure.
Two or three stories like Chopper Strike.
Yeah. Oh, and Heroescape. Now that's another one that, boy, I wish they would like make that one again. That's the one where you build all the tiles and have all the terrains and all these different creatures with different powers and stuff like that. Oh my gosh, that game is great. But it's
There's a lot of
expensive.
good ones I'd like to see him come back with. Like Battle Masters, where you get like
Oh
the
yeah.
big like basically tablecloth that you put out on your floor, and you play on these giant tiles, and you got the ogre and the cannonball, and
Hmm.
I
Now
mean,
that's another reason why I love the older games too, is because of the sheer size of some of these things. I mean, they made some big games. You
the
and
bigger the better, man.
oh yeah, that's my saying.
No, I think it's great. I love some of these older games, man, and I'm really really into these old 3M games right now. And about oh man, I got acquired a couple years ago, and they were kind of cheap. And then the pandemic hit, and everybody was getting rid of their games, and so the 3M games just started going up and up and up in price.
Really? Huh?
And yeah, and I was like, man, but I ended up snagging Acquire at a toy show.
Oh, nice.
This guy at the toy show had a whole room of vintage board games. And I'm like, I want that one and that one and that one and that one. Ooh, you have Acquire? And I grabbed it because he only wanted $15 for the old 3M. And I'm like, yes, this is going with me.
Oh yeah. I know I got those 3M games several years ago. I don't know how much they're worth now, but back then, they weren't that much.
I
You know,
think it's just the pandemic and more people getting into board gaming and wanting to kind of enjoy the history of board gaming is what's
yeah.
doing it. But every now and then, like I'll see some on eBay going for a good price. I just don't have the. I'm like, if I buy it, what am I going to get around to playing it? How many games would you say you have that you have not played?
That I haven't played yet. Hmm. Well, if I count the ones I got from the companies for me to review, I'd probably say about 20
That's
or
it.
so. Yeah. There's some games I might have played once that we have in there.
Oh
And
no, no! If you played it once, it counts as
I
playing.
count. I'd say, yeah, I'd probably say about 20.
Well, that is
Um,
that is embarrassing for me. So,
how many? I guess you have more.
oh yeah, I've got about 50.
50.
Yeah, and it's because I talk to people like you who tell me, "Hey, yeah, try this game. Yeah, yeah, try this game." So I go buy it, and then it's and I forget to go play it.
Right, right. Yeah. I understand. I understand the addiction.
Oh, it's a great addiction though, man. It really is. I mean, there's a lot worse addictions out there.
Oh, for sure.
Uh, but yeah, I mean, there's creators, and I see a Wolfgang Kramer game. I'll
Hmm.
grab it. Sid Saxon, no question.
Oh, yeah.
3M bookshelf game. I'll take that while I'm at it. Some weird Monopoly. Oh, Advanced to Boardwalk. Have you played that one?
Yes, and that was actually one of the few games I had as a kid was that one. And when I found it again, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this one. And yeah, that's a fun game. That's
It
a
is
fun game too.
it is very interesting. I found like I bought it and I took it to my cousins. We had a gaming weekend, me and some of my cousins, and man, the gameplay on that is it's kind of vicious.
Yes, it is.
And
Oh
and
yeah,
we were playing. They were like, "Man, this game's kind of mean."
yeah, yeah. It's like hurricane, lose it. Yeah. It's back. Yeah, it's a lot of back and forth
Yeah,
going
you
on in
go
that game.
backwards. I'm taking this from you. Oh, I know how to control this one, and
Yeah,
like, wow, this thing is mean.
yeah. That
Uh,
was the take. Yeah, one of the few take that games I guess back then. But yeah, it's
Especially from Monopoly. What was the other one? The parking meter, free parking.
free parking. Yeah.
Feed the meter.
Hmm.
That game reminded me a lot of Millborn, and
Yeah.
because you're trying to, get your time up and then spend your time, and you're trying to score as many points with time and getting your errands ran and stuff, and you got to watch out for the cop trying to bust you with
Oh
your
yeah, Mr.
meter.
Jones. Yeah, that punk. He's busted
that
me so many times.
that punk. I don't think I've ever heard anybody call Mr. Jones, the policeman, a punk before.
Well, I never had the car that could cancel them out, or
Well, yeah, because I think that deck is very unbalanced.
yeah. Well, it seems like when I play it, it tends to be that way. Like,
Yeah, I like that one, and then I like the "Don't Go to Jail," the push your luck game.
hmm
That
yeah,
was
that's a
one
good
that,
one. And they what did they have? Monopoly Dice. I think that
yeah,
was like a remake of it.
yeah,
Like,
Monopoly Dice that just came out. Yeah, Monopoly Dice, which they came out with a Clue Dice, which was way crazy. What a weird version of Clue that is, because it's Clue, but you are limited to what you roll.
right.
So if I roll Mr. Green and I already know it's not Mr. Green, I can't do anything with it. I'm like, oh, Mr. Green was the driver. No, it wasn't. Yeah, I know. Thanks.
Yeah.
Because like so if you can't roll what you need, that game really does kind of add a whole lot of luck to Clue, which I don't know if it's necessary. It's Clue.
Have you ever
I
seen
love Clue.
Clue the Great Museum Caper?
Oh yeah, I've got it.
Yeah, that's a fun game.
Holy cow! Yeah, I watched your video on it actually. To remind
Yeah, that
myself
was
how to
like so
play.
much. That was so much different than Clue. It doesn't even
Oh
seem like Clue. It's like
yeah,
you're trying to steal paintings you can get out of a museum.
hidden movement.
Yeah, very cool game.
Yeah, can this camera see you? No. Can
Yeah,
this camera see you? Yes.
yes, it can. And why am I
And
telling you this?
yeah. Ooh, I get out. Oh, this is locked. Oh man, I gotta find an unlock to get out of here.
Oh
Oh
yeah,
man, yeah. Clue, Museum Caper. What? That one's great. There was a blacklight one too. I can't see my stack of Clue games, but I think it was called like Secrets and
Secrets and
Lies.
Spies. Yeah.
Secrets and Spies. Yeah, we have like the blacklight that have to try to match, and you got the game's AI is playing against you too, and
I
that
guess
one's
that's
fun.
the thing. I mean, they've done it with Monopoly and Clue, and I guess they may I don't they haven't really done it with a game of life yet, though they have made a couple of pretty cool versions of it. But well, what was it? The Mario version of life that they just made, I think.
I haven't even seen that.
Yeah, someone turned me on to it. I haven't got it yet, but you know, Mario seems to be making his way into all these games now. Kind of like Cranberry making his way in all the drinks, you know.
Yeah, it's just you got two good things.
Oh yeah, merging together. Yeah.
How bad can it possibly be?
Yeah, not down with those two.
Well, Norm, I'd like to thank you for being on my show today. It's been great talking with you, especially about these old games. Keep making your videos. Keep finding these great deals on games. Oh my gosh. So many of them that I've read about, I'm like, oh, I'm going to play that game. And I just go see, has Norm played it yet? Oh, he has. Okay.
Well, I'm glad to do it, man. It's been a pleasure. It's really nice talking to you, Adam.
Yeah. So if anybody want to reach out to you, how can they do that? Or how can they find you?
Well, I'm on the Board Game Museum on YouTube, so just type that in, and you should find me pretty easily. I just have like a little museum icon thing with BGM on it, and that's the best way to find me. Or just type in a vintage game, and chances are you'll find me that way too.
Absolutely. And as usual, if you want to reach out to me, it is eatlunchandboardgame.com, facebook.com/groups/eatlunchandboardgame, or email me at eatlunchandboardgame@gmail.com. And remember, board games build bridges.
Stay in tune with all things sports around Indiana and the nation with the Crash Course Podcast. Each week, we tackle the big storylines from the world of the Colts, Pacers, and the Indiana college scene, while also keeping a pulse on the nation. We record live weekly at twitch.tv/3C Media and can be found on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever podcasts can be heard, you can catch the Crash Course Podcast.
When you're gaming, why not be comfy? Go over to supportplayer.org. Click on the cards, pieces, and dice to get some merch. These t-shirts are some of the most comfortable I have ever worn. That's supportplayer.org, and there's a link on eatlunchandboardgame.com.